It is a great pleasure to welcome new signing Justin Donawa to Altrincham Football Club. Justin, you're a Bermudian. We haven't had two. We have had one or two of those down through the years, but not too many at Altrincham Football Club. Solihull being the most recent. But as a Bermudian, you spent your early life in that beautiful island. Tell us about your early life.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be up here and get started. But yeah, I mean, I spent, up until my mid-teens in Bermuda. Like you said, it's a beautiful island. It's a little bit different from Manchester, but I grew up always playing. Football was my first love. Played a little bit of cricket, ran track and field. But I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to go to the US and play football in school, in a boarding school, and then eventually university, which led to a few opportunities in the US that didn't quite come off, but thought I'll try my luck in the UK, and ended up coming over this way and playing, for Darlington and eventually Solihull and now Altrincham. So yeah, like I said, I'm delighted to be here and looking forward to getting started.
So tell us about your move from Bermuda and coming over to the UK and joining Darlington.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock, I think, in terms of culture and I was used to the US and stuff like that. But coming over, I think all the lads I was with up that way up north were very welcoming and helped me settle in pretty well. I was also with another fellow Bermudian at the time, who was at Darlington and who helped me settle in pretty nicely, and I was very, very appreciative of that. And I think, I was able to really hit the ground running with Darlington and have a decent first season. And then come back for my second year and then eventually moved to Solihull in 2020. It's a bit of a stop-start for me there, I think. As I was finding form and things, and then I got injured, and then all these things happened. But, I enjoyed my time in Birmingham. It's a lovely setup down there. Enjoyed, the gaffer that had me down there, Neil Alty, and the boys who were down there were all class. And then now I'm looking forward to this new opportunity here that's presented itself, and I'm really excited. It's sort of a fresh start for me to try something new and get going and hopefully help Altrincham get, to the top of this league and push on.
And how would you describe yourself as a player?
I like to see myself as an exciting player when I get the ball. I like to, run in behind and dribble at my defenders and just create a bit of energy, really. I like to run about. I've always been one to give my 110% on the football field, and I'm going to continue to do so here. But yeah, I like to think of myself as pretty quick, direct, but I can also, play in a few different positions, as I like to think of myself as a versatile player, even though I am, primarily a winger. So I'm looking forward to kind of, exploring what the gaffer wants us to do this season, and hopefully, score some goals and be an impact. I think that's my main goal, should be an impact, be positive. And I think if I do my job and everyone else does what they have to do, it can be something special.
And the first time that we came across you as an opponent was at the J. Davidson Stadium. Altrincham won, Darlington won. August bank holiday would have been 2019,
I believe, yeah.
19, yeah. Jordan Hume put Altrincham ahead with a terrific goal. I think we were down to 10 men as well at the time. But Darlington equalised, and it's a goal that everybody remembers at Altrincham, because Stephen Drench unfortunately suffered what turned out to be a serious Achilles injury towards the end of the game, and lo and behold, we put our smallest player on the pitch in the goal in the form of John Johnston, and the Quakers got a free kick right in the dying minutes, and it was Adam Campbell who just curled it into the top corner,
Yeah.
and JJ couldn't get anywhere near it. What are your recollections of that visit?
To be honest, I didn't start that game, but I don't have too many memories of it, specifically. I just remember that free kick, and I remember it going, right in the top corner, and thinking, oh, that's a relief type of thing. Like you said, bank holiday. It was a nice sunny day. The last thing you want to do is come away from a game like that with no points. And for us to salvage a draw was, I guess, a little bit of a consolation for us. But then again, it was a really good game from what I remember. And all the games I've played against Altrincham have been, pretty tough contests despite the score. Going into them, I've always seen Altrincham as a pretty strong side. So.
And your other visit to Altrincham was in the colours of in the yellow and blue of Solihull Moors, or I think they might have worn all yellow on that particular evening. But it was a BT Sport Live game in front of a massive crowd of the best part of 4,000. It was football for a fiver that night. And it was a game that Altrincham didn't want to play because we only had 12 fit players. And we had to sign a couple of players on loan literally that afternoon, one of whom, Barry Bagley, who's one of the best mates of Chris Clark, who's our big new recent signing, opened the scoring for us with a terrific goal. But you were one of the Solihull goal scorers in the second half when two quick-fire goals turned the tables and gave the Moors all 3 points.
Yeah, from what I remember, it was, again, another one of them tight games. You guys going up pretty early, and then it just became very tight. And going into halftime, we were trying to figure out what we needed to do in order to come away with the 3 points. And luckily enough, and fortunate for me, I came out for that second half and got a goal, which I was very pleased about. And then we seemed to get another one literally within 5 or 10 minutes of mine, and come away with the 3 points. So it was a pretty positive night for me and Solihull that night. And it was just a good game of football, like you said. It was a good crowd, and both teams were really at it, and it was a really tight contest. So I remember it as a pretty good night. I mean, for me, it was positive. I'm sure for you guys, it wasn't as positive, but yeah, it was a pretty good game.
When you mention Solihull Moors to most Altrincham fans, particularly the ones who travel to the away games, it sends a bit of a shudder down our spine because we've had a very bad record against the Midlands side. 5 straight defeats against them since we returned to the National League in 2020. But we did put that to bed last season with a fantastic 4-1 victory over the Moors. But I wouldn't say things have gone wrong a little bit there, but they certainly underperformed last season.
Yeah, it was a bit of a tough season, I think, especially that second half of it for us down there. It's one of those things. Obviously, we had such a unreal season the season before that, reaching a playoff final and things like that, and almost getting promoted to losing to a very good Grimsby Town side, and then coming back for the following season and starting off pretty well. I think we were off to a flyer, and sometimes you hit certain points in the season where you go through little downward spirals, and you have a few losses on the bounce or draws or what have you, and we kind of hit that at a certain point. I think the second half of the season proved to be a little bit tough for us. Rather been, we had suffered a lot of injuries and things like that. And for whatever reason, we kind of struggled and kind of dropped down a bit in that table. And it doesn't really show the full picture of what, the type of players that we had and things like that. But that's football, and we all know it goes like that sometimes. And, obviously I wish them all the best for this upcoming season. Hopefully they can, right that wrong. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was a bit of a downer, but I have no doubt that they'll come back stronger, definitely. So
it's interesting what you say there, because it just goes to show the fine line between success and failure, and also how quickly things can change in football, because it is literally only just over a year since Solihull were leading in that playoff finals. Kyle Hudlin who scored, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And Grimsby looked a little bit out of it at one point, and it looked as if Solihull were going to achieve their ambition of becoming a football league club. But within a few minutes, things had changed around, and I'm guessing there was a bit of a hangover for last season.
Yeah, like you said, things can change really quickly. I mean, we have beaten Grimsby twice in the season already, did the double over them at home and away. And some very good performances. And going into that third game, you're thinking, okay, we've done it twice, we can do it again. But in the same breath, it's like, okay, let's not get complacent just because we beat them twice. And not to say complacency was the issue in that game, because I think we done very well. Kyle Hudlin had to come off injured after he scored, which was a bit of a blow for us. Our bench wasn't as strong as we would have liked, just through injuries and stuff like that. So there was a lot of things that kind of contributed to maybe how that game panned out. But like I said, Grimsby Town were a very good side. They had a very good striker, very good players throughout. They done well, and they've proved their sort of their strengths and stuff like that. And they're still in the football league now, contending pretty well. So yeah, it's just one of those things where it's football can change very quickly. I think that's the only way to really sum it up. And it could go totally in the opposite direction again this year for anybody. This is a tough league, as we can see, and 2 or 3 games on the bounce, if you don't do well, it can push you way back down. Or if you're 2 or 3 games on the bounce, if you do well, it can put you right back up in the mix. So it's one of those things where it's with the one getting promoted and one through the playoffs, it creates that tension. But I think it's good. It has its positives and its negatives, but I think everyone's doing their best to kind of conjure up their best squad and get it going for another long season. And hopefully come May, I believe, I hope Altrincham is kind of in that driver's seat, either being promoted automatically or through the playoffs. I'm really excited to begin that journey.
And let's move on to your international career. Over 20 caps for Bermuda. 3 goals, including 2 goals against the Bahamas in a World Cup qualifier. So that's a very important part of your career.
Yeah, definitely. I've told Gaffer here, I said, look, I jump at any opportunity I have to play for my country. I'm very proud of where I'm from, and to represent them, I think, is the highest kind of honor in sports, in any sport really, to represent your country, whether it's football, cricket, whatever you. So I know it's probably going to be a time maybe where I have the opportunity to do that this season, depending on what's happening here. But yeah, it's been a good journey. We've done some good things with the national team, going to the Gold Cup 4 years ago, 2019, going to the Gold Cup and playing against the likes of Costa Rica and Haiti and Nicaragua, and then going on in the Nations League to play Panama and Mexico, beating Panama away. Both sides, which were former World Cup sides the year before. I mean, knew it was going to be a tough task, but we've done some amazing things, I think, as a group with the national team. And like I said, I'm proud to be a part of that and to have played in World Cup qualifiers. And I think that's something that most footballers don't get the chance to do, especially, in this country, in England, where the standard of football is at such a high level and it's so hard to get that opportunity. So, like I said, that's the reason why I take it pretty serious and like to represent my country.
And where does football stand in Bermuda in terms of popularity of sports?
It's the most popular sport, I think, between that and cricket, but I would say football is the main sport of Bermuda.
And the most famous Bermudian footballer is Sean Goater, I guess, a legend at Manchester City, and also a frequent visitor to Altrincham Football Club in years gone by, because there was a period of time when he was regularly seen in the main stand at Altrincham. Yeah,
Sean Goater has really set the standard high, I guess, for some Bermudians, but nonetheless, I think he's been, that figure that all, boys and girls have looked up to from a football perspective, at least from my age group and above. Obviously, younger ones wouldn't know too much, but growing up and having a Bermudian playing in the Premier League is like unheard of, you know what I mean, from such a small island. So I think Sean Goda has kind of helped put Bermuda on the map. And like you said, he's a lovely guy, very nice every time. You know, I've played in Manchester a few times with Darlington and at Altrincham at Curtis Ashton. I've seen him a couple of times. He, you know, pops his head in and makes sure, you know, we're doing all right. So like you said, it's a bit of a hero in Manchester, especially for City fans, playing with them, you know, not just in the Premier League, but in the divisions below. So yeah, he's really, I think, that player for everyone in Bermuda. Like, everyone knows who Sean Goda is and what he's done for the sport and for the country.
Now we're going to have an interesting time with names this season at Altrincham Football Club. We've got 3 Joneses in the squad, and we've just signed another Justin. So I believe we're going to refer to you not as Justin, but as JD.
Yeah, I think to avoid all that confusion, you just go with JD. That's something that people have called me since I was young, really. And especially since I've come over, it just makes sense with JD. It's a little bit more catchy, I think. And given there's another Justin here, I think JD is a little bit more fitting. And I know what's coming with the territory of the initials JD, especially at this football club. So, yeah,
John Davison, one of the top legendary players at Altrincham Football Club, played from 1972 to about 1988,
mm-hmm.
over 600 appearances for the club. He's also the man who's got the most England C international caps ever, I think. So yeah, he was the last JD, and he was referred to as JD.
Yeah.
We had John Rogers, who was JR,
mm-hmm.
and John Davison, who was JD. So yeah, some big shoes to fill. And John Johnston, who we mentioned before, small player, is no longer with us, but he was referred to as JJ. We generally called him JJ. And we've got another JJ in the team as well.
Yeah.
We've got James Jones. So it's going to be very confusing this season. But JD it is, and welcome to Altrincham Football Club. Hope you have a fantastic stay here in the prime of your career, and hopefully it's going to be a really, really successful time in the National League and potentially beyond for Justin Donawa.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And like you said, hopefully we can make something special this year and kick on.
Let's hope so. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.